Hi, welcome to Fire Emblem Quick Tips. When most people make educational videos, they tend to make the knowledge very broad and general so that it's applicable to a lot of scenarios, and as a result, it passes on very useful advice. I've decided to do the opposite of that, and share tips that are very circumstantial, only helpful in very specific situations, and as a result, it's useless most of the time. But as a result of that, it largely goes unmentioned and the knowledge is unshared, and it may just help you out when you need it. Today we are looking at the Three Houses Auxiliary Battle, Battle in the Mountains, and how to effectively manipulate the AI's movement on this map on the maddening difficulty. Battle in the Mountains is an early game auxiliary battle, which splits your team in half, 5 units on the right and 5 on the left. At this point in the game, which in the footage shown is between chapters 3 and 4, this can pose a challenge to unprepared players, and due to the movement and aggression of the enemies, even if you are comfortable on this map, the way in which the enemies spread out can often make it quite inefficient and tedious to clear, and that's what we look to combat today. The right hand side has a 3-wide choke point to hold, which at this point can be tough to do due to your units still being at a low level, plus thieves with pass being able to slip in behind since you don't have enough units to fill in the gaps. The left-hand side has 2 1-tile choke points on the front and a potential 2-tile choke on the back. Once again, having enough units to hold all of this can be tough at this point in the game, especially when only 5 of your units will be on this side. If we try to do all of this at once, it essentially means you need at least 5 tiles of defense, assuming no enemies try to flank on the left. Whilst not impossible, this can be a tough ask at this stage of the game, and also makes it awkward to distribute the EXP to the units you want to have it. For example, in this instance, I am trying to get my newly recruited Bernadetta to have enough Lance EXP to gain access to Vengeance to kill the Death Knight on Chapter 4, so I want to funnel a lot of enemies into her, which is difficult to do if everyone is very spread out. So how do we make this easier? Well, first, we're going to ignore the right hand side. Rather than splitting our power, our units, and the enemies to 2 different sides, we're going to consolidate on the left. The next step is to stop the enemies coming from behind. You can see here that if we just leave our units where they are, this group on the right will start to approach us from the back, meaning we have to deal with that angle. However, if we reposition these 3 units represented by Bernadetta, Claude and Marianne, moving Bernadetta up by 1 to the bottom of the stairs, which also closes up that choke point, and Marianne and Claude to the row behind, these enemies now go up and aim to come from the front, meaning the only direction enemies will approach from is the top, which we can now push up. This will also drag the rest of the enemies on this side around, allowing you to deal with them in a faster manner as you don't have to go to them yourself. You can either push through both chokes here or just up the right hand side. It depends on your preference and your team setup. If you move your 2 left hand units inwards, you'll see that this enemy also goes down the right hand stairs, whereas if you push upwards, he will approach from the left hand side instead. You can be as aggressive or as passive as you want, again depending on how you prefer to play. For example, you can leave your front line, Bernadetta for me, at the bottom of the stairs in a defensive position, funneling all of the enemies into her. Or you can push up, use a bow for chip damage, move in with an archer such as Claude, trade swap Bernie over to a melee weapon, and then finish that first enemy with curved shot, leaving you in a strong offensive position for the enemy phase and turn 2. Now there is one thing that can throw a spanner in the works, and that's if you get the map where all of the enemies are passing thieves. This is still possible to do, but it certainly ramps up the difficulty. Should this happen, start by apologising to whichever RNG god you upset because you've clearly made someone very mad, and then I'd recommend setting up in this sort of formation, especially if you intend to play more defensively, trapping any frail units in between more capable fighters. It's worth noting that on this version of the map there is nothing you can do to stop the thieves coming from behind if you stack the left hand side due to their increased movement range. It's the hardest version of the map, but it should still be possible without too much trouble. From here you can treat the map like any other, moving forward and using the tools at your disposal to route the map, and complete the mission in a quick and efficient manner. Just make sure to keep an eye out for sneaky pass thieves, especially if you're playing defensively, and you should be all good. Hopefully this helps you get the AI to behave in a way which isn't incredibly annoying, and get the most out of this auxiliary battle on your future playthroughs. Thanks for watching.